afternoon in Dallas, and we have a great guest today, and she's been a friend for many years, and she is in Holland, in the Netherlands at this moment. Good evening, Rabella.
Good evening.
Yeah.
Good evening.
It's such an honor to have you. Thank you.
And I'm so glad to see you, both of you.
We know that you are a very busy person, and to make time for us, even though it's more than 9 p.m. in Holland, we appreciate it, and we thank you so much. I want
Of course.
to introduce Rabella to our viewers. Rabella is alderman in the Netherlands, and she was a very important alderman in Rotterdam in 2002. And she's currently active yet, but we are not going to talk about it. But in 2002, together with Pim Fortuyn, in a time that was very, very specific in the history of the Netherlands. Rabella, could you explain us better what it means an alderman in the Netherlands, because it has much more power than in any place in the world?
Well, an alderman is someone who is normally also the vice mayor of a city, and they have certain portfolios, as they say. Where I had in Rotterdam, I had 3. Like the one I had was security. So I was for the security, for the health, and emancipation. And so those were the 3 types of things I was. I had those in my my portfolio, as they say.
And it was a very important time in the Netherlands, and I think
it was a strange time. It was a strange, really, really strange time. Of course, we had in Rotterdam, we had no-go areas. We really had those in those days, 2002. And so it was, in politics, it was a really strange period. We weren't allowed to talk about it. Most politicians didn't want to talk about it. And so it was a strange period, a real strange period. And also what happened in 2002 is that Leefbaar Rotterdam, the party which Pim Fortuyn started, had a real great win in Rotterdam. And so we started in Rotterdam. And, unfortunately, before he could really start, he was killed. He was murdered.
Well, just for our viewers to be aware of who Pim Fortuyn was, we have had 2 very specific persons in the Netherlands that were murdered. And one is Theo van Gogh, who was murdered by a fanatic Muslim, jihad. He was speaking against jihad. And Pim Fortuyn was also one that started to speak openly about migration, about the refugees, and about the Islam in the Netherlands that was taking over. And he was also killed. And
Yeah, he was killed. Yeah. But he was killed by someone from the left wing, as we say here in Holland. So that was really unfortunate. That period was really hard for us, for all of us. You couldn't really talk about different things just to be certain that you don't get killed, or at least, how do you say that? To keep yourself safe. You knew you cannot talk about everything. So that's what I learned from that period, is that freedom of speech never was the same again. Not for me anyway.
so it seems that we are living nowadays in many other countries the same as the Netherlands lived in 2002 and is still living in. Very interesting.
Well,
isn't it?
Yes, it is. And I think, like you said, Tanya, we're seeing that all over the world, a different level of intimidation if you say certain things against radical Islam. And we've watched the things that have been happening in Amsterdam and the Netherlands and France and the UK and even in the United States. So definitely in a different period of time. But one thing, Rebecca, I know that you're concerned about and that we're concerned about is President Biden's allowing the Ukrainians to use U.S. missiles against Russia. And this is kind of a red line for Putin. I know President-elect Trump, who was, in some ways, could not believe that this is happening, has spoken against this radically, or not radically, but very strongly, that this is a mistake. Here we are 2 months from the inauguration, and we have NATO allies throughout Europe and the Middle East, especially in, when I say Middle East, that's only Erdogan. But we have allies in NATO that are very, very concerned, including yourself, about this move. Can you make any sense out of this as we're trying to ourselves right now? Why would he do this at this point, 60 days from the inauguration of Trump?
Well, I am not sure why he did this. Of course, it's a different country, America, so I cannot tell what his meanings is with it. But for us, as Holland, for me, as a mother in Holland, and I am concerned that we are going to be in World War III, while we don't want to have anything to do with war at this moment. I mean, we are not part of the war. Ukraine is not a member of the UN. They are not a member of the EU. So if they were, then we would actually be in World War III now at this moment. So thank goodness that's not the case. But we are concerned. At least I am very concerned. Yes. And I do hope that President Putin will restrain himself in not being tested into World War III.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I was with President Trump in Brussels at NATO in May of 2017. I spent 20 years at the White House during the Bush terms, the Obama terms, and the first term of Trump. And we'll be going back again with this new administration of President Trump. But I remember President Trump in Brussels stating, he was very strong. He says, we have 28 members of NATO, but only 4% are paying their obligation, which is 2% of gross domestic product spent on defense. And he was furious. There's also a $1.2 billion building that was being dedicated. And he said very strongly, the American taxpayers shouldn't be responsible for paying for this building that you're celebrating today. And the other countries need to fulfill their obligations. And in the 4-year period, more and more did. But we're going to hear this once again. And
I must say that that really helped, because nowadays, from the 28, we have 23 countries who actually have the 2%. And few of them also at 3%. And also the Netherlands, it's, thank God, also at the 2%, going up a little bit. So that's at least the thing we have to do. So I'm glad with that. But I don't think that would have happened without President Trump then stated that he wanted them to be able to get to that result. If he didn't state that those days, I don't think that nowadays we would have been up to standard. And I think most of the countries now are, of the 28, at least 23 countries, are at the GDP 2%. So that's at least good to hear.
That's very positive. Also, and Tanya could very familiar with this. Having lived in the Netherlands, you're familiar with the former Dutch Prime Minister, Mark Rutte,
Yes.
Who is now the current Secretary General of NATO.
Yes. Yes.
Leader, was he, and how do you think he will perform the role as being Secretary General of NATO at a very, very important time?
It is a diplomat, I would say. He is very diplomatic. He is able to get different people to on the table. And I think that he is, for now, the best man at the right place. So I'm really happy with that. And as I understood, he had also a conversation already with the upcoming President Trump. So I think he will do good. He will do great.
Yeah, he had a conversation, a phone call with the president-elect Trump.
Yeah, and I think that he went to his place either today or yesterday. He took the with the plane, so he went to visit him. So the first conversation has already been done.
That's wonderful. And also, acting Attorney General Whitaker, who's been picked as the U.S. ambassador to NATO, is very strong too. He's He's very pro-Trump. Did a great job. But Whitaker, who has been appointed as the ambassador to NATO for Trump, is very, very strong.
I'll talk about Mark Rutte, because we had I have traveled with Mark Rutte in trade missions. You've been there in politics. He have had a cabinet first, Mark Rutte, the second one, the third one, the fourth one. He has been in power for over 10 years in the Netherlands.
Yes.
People are asking me, and perhaps you can clarify that better to our viewers. They say, well, who is the prime minister in the Netherlands? Wilders won the elections, and he's not the prime minister. How does that work? Perhaps you could clarify that a little bit for us, Rebella.
Well, as the the system now worked like this, that they wanted to be empowered, so now they have a prime minister. A prime minister selects. He is not one who has a politic party after besides him. It's one where all the four leading how do you say that? We have the BBB, the PVV, and they agreed not to instate Wilders as the prime minister. So that was because normally he would have been in a cordon sanitaire, something like that. So instead of that, they suggested to do it like this. So the four parties have the persons who normally would have been the ministers or the vice or the VPs. They stay in the second chamber. It's a different kind of how to say that. It's different than in America. The second chamber is
the lower house.
Yes, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And coming back to Wilders, because internationally he was known all over the place about his comments against Moroccans in the news. And I think that was one of his statements that gave him a lot of troubles. Could you talk more about it?
Well, I am not of the party of Wilders, so I'm not really into all the ins and outs of that. I do know he is critical about it. Definitely, yes. And that's why they had a kind of cordon sanitaire, making him not be able to be the VP.
Yeah, but he's publishing in X or Twitter a lot.
Yeah, he can do everything because he's in the second chamber, which is not he's not of the cabinet, so he's not part of the how do you say that? The ones who are in parliament. So he's not in that specific minister's cabinet.
So it gives him more rights.
It gives him more freedom to say and do whatever he wants.
Yeah, and he has publishing a lot about the pogroms that we saw in Amsterdam some weeks ago, and all the anti-Semitic attacks against the Jews, and it seems that he has taken the side of Israel.
He has always had the side of Israel. If you look at his X and Twitters and whenever he states something, it will always be with how to say that fondness of Israel. So yes, he's one of the allies. Most definitely.
Do you have any comment about our good friend Hosseman and the mayor of Amsterdam regarding the pogroms that happened?
Well, it is difficult for me to state anything about an alderman, or she is the mayor of Amsterdam, and I cannot comment on that. That's for me as a politician now. I cannot do that.
Absolutely.
So the only thing I can tell you is that she also said that it is not allowed to, and she called it also a program, actually.
That's strong.
Strong
words.
Yes.
Strong.
Yes, she did.
Being with an agricultural background and in the United States, my family, I've always been amazed at the amazing productivity of farming within the Netherlands. It's brilliant. Second or third largest exporter of food products in the world. The World Economic Forum and some of the globalists have asked for the Netherlands to cut back farming 25, 30, 35% 2 years ago or so. I know there was a lot of protest.
Yes.
Is there continued pressure on these amazing farmers of the Netherlands to reduce their crop production?
Well, there is still a lot of pressure on the farmers, unfortunately, especially if you see that farmers in Holland are one of the best farmers in the world. And we export a lot also. And we have modern agriculture and very good, reliable workforce in that field. So it's very hard and it's very harsh to see that some farmers need to close their farms. Sometimes it's fifth or sixth or seventh generation farmers who live there and who work there. So it's hard. Yeah. But it's still they are trying to get them to give it up voluntarily. So but it's not over yet. Let's put it like that. It still is a thing in Holland. So that's why the BBB, the Boer-Burger Party, that one from Caroline van der Plas, they won a lot of in votes. Yes, in the last election. Especially for the farmers. So,
well, it'll be interesting on our side because the Trump administration and some of his nominees are very, very realistic about energy, about food production, about a lot of the people he's putting in place will be getting rid of a lot of these restrictions and regulations that is going to allow a lot of production in many areas. And I pray that will spread to other parts of the world. And I believe that can. And I think in some ways, President Trump and his administration and the people within some of the nominees are a threat to those that are restricting these incredible capabilities of the Dutch and others to produce important crops. And we have shortages. So,
that the thing is, you need to feed the people.
Absolutely.
And especially if you are able to do it in the way they are doing it here, those farmers are really, really very capable of getting forward and also of course, they know sometimes you need to modernize your farm, but they are already doing that also. So, yeah, I hope to see that also here in Holland.
The Dutch farmers are legendary, and
I know.
we just pray that they're able to continue to use that incredible gift to deal with food shortages around the world.
Yeah.
I have lived in the Netherlands for 35 years, and I am a Dutch citizen. And one of the things in the Netherlands that we used to say proudly was about our right of free speech. How do you see the Netherlands today regarding free speech, the right of free speech, and how do you see the right living in the Netherlands and within Europe or the European Union?
It's very difficult for me to say something about the freedom of speech, because for me, as I told you in the beginning of this conversation, for me, freedom of speech ended in May 2002 with the murder of Pim Fortuyn. I know that I, as a person, are reluctant to say everything I want, because I'm not sure whether to trust and to be able to not be harassed afterwards. So it's difficult as a person to say anything just because discrimination is one word which people really, really fast use to put you in a corner. And so it's difficult. It's difficult. You can say a lot, but not everything.
So even in the land of the tolerance, like the Dutch say,
the thing is, it's tolerant until you, it's not as intolerant as it was. It was a great country in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, but after that it went downhill with freedom of speech. And I'm 64 now, so I have
good. Just for our viewers to know, Arabella, which we appreciate. I know you are not feeling well, and anyway, many thanks again.
One last thing, one last item. Rebella, we were blessed to spend some time with you in July of this year, and we had an event at the World Forum, the trial, 2-day event that basically stood up to the International Court of Justice official position on the state of Israel. We gave full and historical. And we're watching the International Criminal Court very closely. They have just put arrest warrants. The International Criminal Court has put arrest warrants for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and former Defense Minister Gallant. Immediately, Senator Thune, who will be the majority leader in the Senate, says we will respond and respond strongly against these warrants and any other attempt by the International Criminal Court to penalize our allies, Israel, or anybody else on that ground. So it looks like the International Court of Justice, the International Criminal Court, is going to have a lot of function or focus from the Trump administration. I remember former National Security Advisor John Bolton also restricted members of the International Court of Justice to be able to come into the United States during his previous term. So this is going to be an interesting situation for us to follow going forward.
Yeah, it's a very strange period now. I mean, for us, if you look at the information you get, we know Hamas is the one who started this war. They started this. So it's very hard, especially if you understand that a lot of the things like the schools, the hospitals, Hamas is sitting there. Why aren't the people being how do you say that? Why can't they use the tunnels? I mean, let the people from Palestine use the tunnels. But no, Hamas is using the tunnels. And then they are going to give Israel the for me it's strange. I think that it's difficult to grasp that people don't understand what is really happening nowadays. And for me, especially because, I mean, when I was 19, I worked at the embassy of Sudan. And I worked at the consulate of Kuwait. So at a very young age, I was able to see and hear and understand what it is that some of the sides of Islam that it's hard. And I don't understand how people are looking the other way and trying to, for instance, the universities. It's mind-blowing to see youngsters being brainwashed. I don't understand it. I really, really don't understand it. So, yeah.
And that's the situation in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Robella, thank you. And Tanya, please say thanks to our dear friend here.
Well, thank you so much for your inputs. And we continue to pray for you, and that you are going to be like you have always been, shining sun in the politics in the Netherlands, that your career will continue to shine, and on that way you're going to be helping the Netherlands, the European Union, and the world.
I hope so.
Yeah, we pray for. God bless you. Thank you so much.
God bless. Thank you.
And for our viewers, just don't forget to like it or to share. And we appreciate your comments. Just make a comment. We will always answer it. And you are very important. God bless you. Thank you. So I think we had a very good interview with Robella. And in my point of view, I think we have showed, and I hope for the viewer as well, how important America is and how much we have the freedom of speech in America yet. And because we were speaking, Holland is the most tolerant country in the world. Even only the abortion, the law of abortion, the law of euthanasia, is over 50 years old. And, all the gender things are free there. Marriage between genders are a law of over 50 years. and what they are facing and how they are suffering under this evil power, which I consider evil. Huh? What are your thoughts?
Well, absolutely. A lot's changed, as Rebella said, since 2002. So what was that? Well, there's a concern about radical Islam that has placed itself inside of the Netherlands, that has intimidated a lot of people from free speech. And as you said, the Netherlands tolerance, I mean, they've tolerated almost everything and things that we didn't as against our Judeo-Christian values. But we noticed that from our visits to Europe this summer, that it is very hard for people within Europe to tell it like it is. It's lawfare.
Yeah.
We have such a small percentage of Christians today in Europe.
Such a small percentage.
We have two benefits. One is we have the protection of freedom of speech.
Yeah.
And number two, we have still a very strong population of evangelical Christians, Protestants, and Catholics. But it's a battle. It's a struggle. If you speak against LGBT or if you speak against radical Islam, they attempt to intimidate you here in the United States.
And we're not talking about Venezuela or Nicaragua or Brazil even, but we're talking about the Netherlands, one of the most powerful countries of the world and totally agnostic, humanistic.
Yeah, and we're seeing freedom of speech or speech under attack all over the world.
Yeah.
And I know from our friends in Europe, they were so hopeful that there would be a Trump victory because of the strong evangelical Christian support of President Trump and the fact that in his first term, he had 34 evangelical advisors.
Yeah.
And he understands that. And even when you look at the people he's putting in place, a lot of Christians that he's nominated, a lot of Christians once again. And that's critical. But it's still a battle here in America. I mean, anybody that's supportive of what the Bible says from Genesis to Revelation is considered a Christian nationalist. That's the new buzz term of the left.
Well, but America has spoken. America is totally red. And that is now a spread in the world. And we say, as America goes, so goes the world. And we have won. The victory is ours. But I wanted to emphasize for you, our viewers, to continue to pray for this administration, for Trump. It's not over until it's over. First vow and second vow, I think we have a lot of work to do in the coming years. So we have a very short time, and we have to try to make laws, because laws won't be changed with the next administration, with the next election. We don't know what the future holds. So you are very important to continue to pray, to continue to get the phone, call your senator, speak out. I don't want the transgender thing for my children. Think about your children and your grandchildren. That's what I wanted to be very specific about this program here, and continue keeping the values of the Bible. The Bible has to go back to the schools again. The Bible has to come back to the American society. But America is important for the world, and even a country as the Netherlands needs America. So that's the message I want to leave it here. Yeah, do you want to?
Well, we'll just continue to pray for, as Tanya said, we continue to pray for President-elect Trump and his nominees. Continue to pray that the God of Israel will be honored. I remember hearing Speaker of the House Mike Johnson just speak. He gave total credit to God and Jesus Christ for this victory in November. And he's an incredible serious believer and a man of faith. And we have more and more of those folks in Congress, in the Senate and the House. So we continue to pray for our country. We pray for that we will return to God and that our lives will be committed to him and his purpose and be obedient to his plan at this very unique time that he's given us an opportunity to be alive. So, Tanya and I thank you. Thanks for being with us today, and look forward to staying in close touch.
God bless you.
God
Don't
bless you.
forget to share and like.